Welcome back, everybody, to Joe the Shirt Off the Cuff. I am your host, as always, the one and only Joe the Shirt. And I say one and only because, let's face facts, who would want more of me? That, of course, was Prince and the Revolution and his song, Kiss. Normally, I don't like to use big-time singers' music on the show because I don't want them suing me. But I am making this exception, of course, for the one and only Prince, who died very recently. And the entire world is absolutely, completely saddened by this absolute musical tragedy. And like I said before, this is a fucking fucked up year to be a musician, okay? I mean, musicians are dying off left and right. Another one of the Beastie Boys just kicked off the other day. Yeah, another one. Yeah, died of cancer. Just like the other one did. A different type of cancer, but still cancer. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm getting sick and tired of musicians dying on us. I mean, yes, we all expect a certain number of musicians are going to die. Be it old age or drug abuse or both, okay? I accept that. But come on, Prince and Bowie in the same fucking year? That's just fucking wrong. Anyway, and I'm not here to talk about Prince today. I got other things I want to talk about today. I do have one more thing to do with Prince, and then I'm going to drop it. I'm a little pissed off with Gene Simmons. And for those of you who are do not know who Gene Simmons is, what fucking rock have you been living under? Of course, he is one of the founding members of the great metal band. I don't know how you want to really classify them as metal or whatever, but Kiss. We all know who Kiss is. And anyway, Gene Simmons was one of the original members there, and he pissed me off recently. I know, it's really hard to believe. What could Gene Simmons have ever done to you? Gene Simmons doesn't even know who the fuck you are, Joe. Well, that's true. But in regards to Prince's death, Gene Simmons was on record as saying that, you know, what he admired Prince, he admired his talent, his ability as a musician, as a singer, as a performer. He said that he was even, you know, head and shoulders above Michael Jackson, who, in every sense of the word, it was a contemporary of Prince, you know. But then he goes off to blast Prince by saying that it was pathetic that he killed himself. Okay, now you're all thinking, well, wait a minute, Prince died of a drug overdose. And thus, that's where Gene is coming from. He says that basically he was just committing suicide slowly with the drugs and possibly alcohol. I don't know if Prince even drank, but definitely with the drugs. He says that he believes that it was pathetic of him to let himself die that way. And to this I say, fuck you, Gene Simmons! Fuck you in the ass, all right? Just because, believe it or not, there's another one that a lot of you may not know. Gene Simmons, of the band Kiss, has claimed who've never drunk or done drugs in his life. Yeah, he says he's been clean and sober his entire fucking life. He never saw the point of it. And, you know, and to that I say, and that's why, you know, maybe that's why Prince is a musical legend and you're some asshole that had to put on grease paint to get people to go to your show. Okay, now I'm just being angry. I enjoyed Kiss quite a bit. But, you know, it's pissing me off. You know? I mean, who the fuck are you to go around judging somebody else like that? You know? We've all had our demons. We all have them, okay? You know, maybe for Gene Simmons, it's not, you know, drugs and alcohol. You know, for all we know, he goes home and fucks kittens. Who knows? Maybe, I'm not saying that Gene Simmons fucks kittens, but I'm saying maybe he does. And there I'm going to drop it. A lot going on in the world. Now, I know you guys are looking at the title of today's show, the Indian Child Welfare Act. No, seriously. I'm really talking about this today. Most of you have no idea what the fuck that is, okay? Well, It's something that was enacted way back in 1978. And the reason why is to protect Indian culture. because what was happening, or Native American culture, if you want to be PC about it, like a little bitch. What was going on here was that way back when, after white people came into this country and pretty much stole all the land from the Indians and shot all the Indians, and the ones that they didn't shoot, they gave them diseased blankets too, so they died of disease. And actually, they didn't even have to give them diseased blankets. I mean, just coming into contact with white people can kill you. Just ask Trayvon Martin about that one. And we're going to be talking about him later on today, too. But yeah, so the Native Americans were pretty much wiped out in this country, I mean, as Chris Rock said, you ain't never seen 3 Indians together, okay? You've never seen them. Okay, but I know that's an exaggeration of the truth, but what was happening was after white people came in and just decimated the Indian population, their culture, their lands, just took everything away from them, the Indians were left living pretty much in squalor. Okay, they were living like refugees in their own fucking country, is what was happening. And so then what happened is a bunch of white people, yes, I'm blaming white people a lot in this story, but you know what? I'm going to defend them on the flip side. Just keep listening. What happened was a bunch of white people got together, mostly very, very religious white people, especially back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, got together. We're talking about Mormons here a lot, okay? A lot of Mormons, a lot of other types of Christian groups got together, and they decided that, you know what? It's a damn shame that these poor Indians are living in such shit and squalor, that we caused. How about we give them a hand and adopt, Indian babies, Indian children, And what was happening was that these religious groups started to adopt Native American children. And the way they did this was not necessarily because, the children didn't have parents. But what would happen is that these religious groups with government backing would go into these tribal lands, or reservations actually, and they would unilaterally decide, that some children needed more help than others, and would take those children away from their families, from their parents, from their relatives, from their tribes. And and when I say they would take them away, I'm talking in large numbers. I'm talking that up until the Indian Child Welfare Act was enacted, roughly between 25 and 35% of all Native American children were being taken away from their families. Okay? Forcibly, if necessary. Okay, it's not like, Indians were just offering up their kids, hey, white man, you take child. No, they weren't doing that, no. What was happening was that these people would just go into these reservations, say, hey, wow, this is really fucked up. Your kid's having a rough time. We're going to take him away from you for his own good. And this was really just a religious ploy, all right? What the Mormons and other religious groups were doing was basically bolstering up their ranks by taking these children and then raising them as Christians and Mormons and whatever. And what was happening was they were taking these children, they were raising them up white, basically, and then there were very few children left on the reservations to learn Native American culture. So basically, the Native Americans were being bred out. Okay, they had no children to pass their culture to pass their beliefs to. So little by little, the tribes started to die off. The numbers started to dwindle. It was no longer a matter of disease or getting shot at. They were just dying out. And it got to the point also that a lot of people that remained on the reservations decided, basically, well, fuck this shit. There's nothing for me here. There's no job. There's no land. I'm not allowed to go out and hunt buffalo any fucking more. I got no kids to give my culture to. They just up and left the reservations, and they went out into the world. And a lot of what would happen is they would go out into the world, and they would commingle with white people. And also black people back then. And after a while, children born from these unions of Indians and white people and Indians and black people, they did not want to be identified as Native Americans. So they rejected their own culture in favor of something what they perceived as better at the time. At least better in the sense that, hey, if I go this way, I can get a job. I can sustain myself. I could find a place to live. So between the children being taken away and remaining adults leaving, it left a very, very small population of people on these reservations and on these tribal lands to continue their culture. We were making them extinct. Okay? So what happened was, after enough, protestations, enough bitching and moaning and legal finagling, the Native Americans were finally able to enact the Indian Child Welfare Act, which was codified, in November of 1978. And now this is a federal law that governs the jurisdiction over the removal of Native American children from their families. Okay? Now this includes foster and adoptive non-Native American families. All right? So even if basically what it says is, in order to protect Native American culture, if it's found that a child is actually a Native American child that has been adopted by a non-Native American family, that the tribe that child belongs to can come in and take that child and take it back to its tribal lands, back to its Native American culture, so that it can be reindoctrinated into his original culture. Okay, makes sense. Sounds like a good idea. Let's see. It was a good idea at the time, and at the time, the Native Americans that we're talking about were still very much, for the most part, very Native American. Okay, they still looked Native American, they acted Native American. They were only like maybe one generation or two separated from their original tribe, culture, reservation, whatever you want to call it. All right, and that was used to help preserve Native American culture in this country. Okay, it was an extreme way of doing it, but I believe it was a necessary way of doing it. Now let's fast forward. That's my sound of fast forwarding, like on the old VHS tapes. Fast forward a little bit. You know what? I'm not even going to go into this right now because it's actually almost time for a break. So we're gonna take a little break right here. We're not going to be using any more Prince music for right now. Today's musical guest is one Bob Riffo from, and this is his first song of the day. It's called Blowjob Man. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I will be right back. The shirt is off the cuff. All right, welcome back. Show the shirt's off the cuff, and that was Bob Riffo and his song "Blowjob Man." I believe there's some really nuanced subtext to that song. You know what I mean? It's deep. It's really, really deep. Balls deep. Okay. So I just told you the basic premise of the Indian Child Welfare Act. Originally, a good idea with a good purpose in mind, all right? Now, as we all know, sometimes a good idea can go bad. As we all know, a lot of people have this thought in their head that if a little is good, a lot's even better. Well, no, not necessarily true. So that's why we fast forward to the year 2016, and let's see, what is her name here? One Lexi Page, not her actual last name, but Lexi is 6 years old, and she was pretty much abandoned by her Native American parents, or at least parents of Native American heritage. She was pretty much abandoned, not a part of her life. Pretty much since the day she was born, she was pretty much in the foster care system, pretty much right after birth. And nobody in her extended family wanted her. So Lexi went off to live with one Rusty and Summer Page. They were her foster parents. Now, Rusty and Summer, by all accounts, very nice people. They have their own kids already, but they were a foster family. And they took in Lexi when she was 2 years old and grew to love her so much that they decided they were going to adopt her. They wanted her. They wanted her to be part of their family. So they put into the works to adopt her. Now, what was happening now, welcome in Indian Child Welfare Act. The Indian Child Welfare Act and relatives of Lexi decided that they wanted her. They wanted her back with her family, or with people that were her relatives. Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's a good idea. That's a good way to go. That's what the Child Welfare Act is for, the Indian Child Welfare Act. All right, but here's the part that you're going to find a little interesting, and I found a little insulting. Lexi's Native American heritage is Choctaw. She's a Choctaw Indian. All right? Now, and thanks to the Indian Child Welfare Act, that means that they can go in to take Lexi, who's 6 years old, and take her away from the only family she's known since her age 2, so 4 years now. 2/3 of her life have been with this family. This is the only mother and father that she knows. These, as far as she's concerned, their children are her siblings, her brothers and her sisters. Okay? And I know you're thinking, but you know what, Joe, the Indian Child Welfare Act, you gotta, maintain Indian culture, you gotta maintain their heritage. Okay, granted. But then the question comes, just how Native American is Lexi really? Well, it turns out that Lexi is a whopping 1.5% Choctaw. In case you didn't catch that clearly, she is 1.5% Choctaw, also known as 1/64th Choctaw. Okay? So out of all the 64 parts of her, one part of her is Choctaw. Now, I think when you're 1.5% Choctaw or 1/64th Choctaw, you know what that says to me? It means that you're not fucking Choctaw, all right? That's what it says to me. You're not a fucking Choctaw. You're not a fucking Indian, all right? I'm sorry. When the other 63 parts of you are not part of that 1%, you're not that 1%. I'm sorry. It's just bullshit. Okay, we all know I am Puerto Rican, but that would be like me claiming to be Jewish. And I say this because I've told you guys this before. Puerto Rico, which is in the Caribbean, has the highest concentration of Jews from Europe in all of the Caribbean. Puerto Rico has more Jewish ancestry in it than every other Caribbean island combined. All right? There are more Jews in Puerto Rico than anywhere else in the Caribbean combined. So there's a really good chance that I have some Jewish blood in me somewhere, some Jewish DNA in me, some Jewish culture, heritage in me. At no point do I think I'm Jewish, all right? And maybe, you know what? Maybe I should get one of those home DNA tests. I think I will. I'm going to get a home DNA test, and I'm gonna take it. I'm going to get the results, and I'm going to announce it right here on the air for you guys, so you can just find out exactly what the fuck it is I am, besides an asshole. But think about that. 1.5%. 1.5%. I think the USDA allows more rat shit in your hot dog than this little girl is Choctaw. All right? So I think this is completely unfair. And here's the real kicker for you guys. This is something I found out. This is one of the most recent facts that I found out. And this was the absolute funniest fucking thing I could ever hear of. Okay. She was taken away from her family. This happened right here in California, by the way. This is where this little girl was living with her family, the Pages, Rusty and Summer. And she was taken away to go live with relatives in Utah. And I know you're thinking, well, that's probably for the best. But hold on a second. The Native Indian Child Welfare Act was designed to take children that were being adopted or fostered or taken care of by non-Native Americans to be moved to a Native American family that they were related to. Okay. Well, here's the thing. The people that they moved her to with in Utah, they're not blood relatives. No, they're not. As a matter of fact, not only they're not blood relatives, they're step cousins. Step cousins. And to go a little bit further, they're not even first step cousins. They are step second cousins. So there is absolutely no blood or DNA between these people. And wait, I got one more for you. These second step cousins are not Native Americans. Oh my God. They're not even Native Americans of any tribe. Okay? As far as I know, they're just regular white people from Utah. Most likely Mormon. Sound familiar to anybody? So this is what they did. To recap, under the Indian Child Welfare Act, they took a little girl who was 1.5% or 1/64th Choctaw Indian away from her adoptive, loving parents to be moved over all the way to Utah to live with second step cousins who are not even Native Americans. So what the hell fucking Native American culture or heritage are they going to impart on her? Watch old John Wayne movies, maybe? I mean, what the fuck? So I think this is completely unfair. I think that this, while this may follow the letter of the law, I don't think it's following the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law was to, get children that are Native American in heritage and culture and get them back to their Native American roots so that they can be passed on Native American knowledge and wisdom and culture. Excuse me. Been fighting a cold. And to be put with family members of theirs. While this may follow the letter of the law, these are technically family members, sorta, kinda. I don't think that it's following the spirit of the law, because let's face facts. I mean, they're not fulfilling it doesn't even fulfill the letter of the law. I mean, they're not fulfilling what it's meant to do. She's not being put with real relatives. She's not being put with Native Americans. She's just being shipped off somewhere else because somebody finally, after 6 years, decided to claim her. Again, bullshit. Now, here's, again, one more flip side to all this. I'm willing to bet, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm willing to bet that the Choctaw tribe, or at least the people that are involved in all of this mess, don't own any gambling establishments. I'm willing to bet that much. I am willing to bet that the Choctaw doesn't have any casinos or card rooms or bingo clubs or slot machines or any of that shit. I'm willing to bet they don't have any of that. And the reason I say that is because it turns out Indian tribes that do have casinos, card rooms, bingo parlors, and slot machines, they're actually reducing their membership. Excuse me. It's true. And why is that? It's because tribes that are allowed to have casinos or gambling establishments of any kind on their land, if you're a member of that tribe, you are entitled to a percentage of those profits from those gaming establishments. Okay? And you wonder, how much revenue are we talking about? Well, let's give you an example. In the United States, there are roughly 240 tribes, excuse me, that run roughly 460 different gaming establishments. Again, casinos, bingo parlors, slot machines, whatever. This produces an annual revenue of about $27 billion. One more time, $27 billion. And as an official member of any of these tribes, you would be entitled to a percentage of the winnings, of the profits, right? Of course, this means that the more tribe members there are, the less money each individual gets. Conversely, the less tribe members there are, the more money you get. Okay, so here's an example for you. The Chumash tribe, which runs casinos right here in California, if you're a member of the Chumash tribe, you collect annually $350,000 in gambling revenue. That's right, $350,000 a year to do nothing. You don't have to work. All you have to do, excuse me again, all you have to do is collect your check. Collect your weekly check, or monthly or biweekly, or however it is they pay them out. I don't know, maybe they do it annually, who knows. But all you have to do is collect your check. Basically, it's Indian welfare. If you're an official member of the tribe, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to get a job. You make $350,000 staying at home, watching The Price is Right, and drinking your fire water, Tonto. As a matter of fact, the greed within the tribes has gotten to the point that it's so bad that the Pechanga tribe, another tribe right here in California, not too long ago evicted 130 members of the tribe. They kicked them out. They said, "You know what? You're not Indian enough. No, you're not. You got to go." Also, that they wouldn't have to share in the gambling revenue that they were making. Because let's face facts. We're talking the tribes, an Indian tribe these days is a pretty small group of people. If it's several hundred, that's a big fucking tribe. So if you kick out 130 members of the tribe, that's 130 people that you no longer have to pay, that you can reabsorb into redistributing that revenue amongst the remaining members. And by the way, they don't go with this whole bullshit of 1.5% Choctaw or 1/64th Choctaw, and that means you're a Choctaw. No. The bylaws of the Pechanga tribe dictate that you have to have at least 1/4 Indian blood in you. You have to be at least 25% Native American Pechanga. That's quite a bit higher than the 1.5%, isn't it now? Quite a bit higher, actually. So, do you think that... so that tells me that the Chumash and the Pechanga, if they find a child somewhere that has 1.5% Pechanga or Chumash blood in them, they're basically going to go, "Fuck you, Whitey." That's what they're basically going to do right there and then, all right? And the way they determine that you're Indian, not only do you have to be 25%, Indian blood in you, but you also have to have your name on some old raggedy parchment that shows your lineage on there somewhere, and your names and your parents' names and your grandparents' names and great-grandparents' names. So you have to also prove that you are related to somebody on this list. Okay, so you have to be on the list. It's like going to a club, It's like a velvet rope at an Indian tribe, Yeah, are you on the list? And you have to prove that your name is somehow related to somebody's name on that list, and then you have to show that you're 25% Native American. That is quite a bit more of a rigorous screening process than saying, "Oh, she's like a whole 1.5% Indian. Let's take her." I have to believe that if the Choctaw Indians had casinos or any type of gambling establishment, I don't think they'd be in such a hurry to go take this kid. Do you? Anybody? And to round this out, finally, one of the things that has got Indians shaking in their boots, especially the ones that may be a little iffy on how their lineage and blood actually works, they're considering doing DNA testing for tribe members, so that every member that claims that they are of that tribe that's getting money has to be tested to see just how much Indian are they really. That's got them shaking in their boots. Okay, we're going to take another break so I can finally clear my fucking throat. We got one more song here. Another song, actually, by Bob Riffo. This one's called Smoking Girls and S&M. Hey, I don't come up with these titles. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back. The shirt is off the cuff. Welcome back. Hey, I told you I was going to talk about the Indian Child Welfare Act, didn't I? I said I would, and I did, all right? So back the fuck up, all right, yo? Anyway. I have to go blow my nose, clear my throat. Get some nasal spray up in there. This post-nasal trip is a bitch. I swear to God, I never ever get sick, but when I do, it just seems to last forever. All right. Before we go on, let's do some celebrity birthdays. All right. If your birthday is today, one May 12th, in the year of our Lord, 2016, you celebrate birthdays with the one and only Ving Rhames. He's 57 years old. Jason Biggs from the American Pie movies is now 38 years old. Can you imagine? That kid is now 38 years old. God damn. Emilio Estevez from Young Guns is now 54 years old. Kim Fields from The Facts of Life, also known as Tootie, is now 47 years old. Rami Malek is 35 years old. I know you're thinking, well, who the fuck is Rami Malek? Well, he played the mummy in Night at the Museum. Okay? And the one and only world's biggest, oldest kid, Tony Hawk, is 48 years old. For those kids out there who don't know who Tony Hawk is, he is one of the most legendary skateboarders of all time. He's got clothing lines, he's got skateboard lines, he's got video games. I mean, Tony Hawk is the man. He's the only person, in my opinion, above the age of 30 that should be allowed to ride a skateboard. Because I got to tell you, every time for whatever reason, here in West Hollywood, the gayest place on earth, we get a lot of like guys in their 30s and 40s on skateboards. And you know what? It's good exercise and it's a lot of fun, but you just look fucking stupid, dude. You just look so fucking stupid when you do that. Anyway. Before we move on to any other stories, I want to regale you a little bit more about my trip to Jamaica, man. Like I said, we had a great time in Jamaica. A fantastic time. There's so many things to tell. I can't tell it in order because there's just so much to tell. But I will say this, though. I know I've said this before, that in Jamaica, you can't walk 3 feet without somebody offering you drugs. It's not possible, all right? I'm talking like when we got off the plane, people were offering me drugs. The bus driver sold me drugs. I bought drugs from our bus driver, okay? Nothing hard, just some weed, you know. But, you know, one guy came up to me. He was like, hey, man, you want some smoke? And I was like, nah, man, I'll probably get some later, but not right now. He's like, you want some white, some powder? And I'm like, no, man, I'm not really into that kind of thing. You want some mushrooms, some liquid stuff, you know, some acid? And I was like, no, man, really, just take it easy. Oh, my God. But one of the stories that sticks out in my mind, actually, is our first night there. The Russian was off doing something else. I'm not even really quite sure what. But I was at the lobby bar. It was pretty late at night. It was like, I don't know, like something like 1 in the morning, 2. Not really late, but, you know, we had just gotten there that day, so we were kind of tired. And I don't know what she was doing exactly, what the Russian was doing. But I was hanging out at the bar, as I am prone to do, especially when drinks are free, or at least they're already paid for. It's like, you know, it's all-inclusive resorts. I don't have to bring money with me other than for tipping. And I'm hanging out at the bar, and I'm, you know me, I'm a very social human being. I may hate people, but I'm very social. And I'm hanging out at the bar, and I'm talking to these people. It turns out, you know, I'm talking to these people, really nice folks. When you go on vacation at these resorts, more often than not, you meet some really, really nice people. And I'm talking to these folks, and it comes up the fact that they're British, you know, and I was like, well, you're British. I love the fucking British. You guys are so fucking retarded, you know? And from across the bar, this fat, ugly piece of shit comes out with, don't call the British retarded. Like, excuse me? I said, don't call the fucking British retarded. We're not retarded. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I was only kidding. I was just joking with these folks right here. He's like, I don't care what you were joking about. Don't call the British retarded. And I was like, whatever, man. I was just joking. Plenty of my friends are British. I have lots of British friends. You know, it's just some little name call, little ribbing, no big deal. He's like, dude, and then he's like, do you know what the word retarded means? The literal meaning of the word retarded? And I'm like, yeah, it means backwards. I know exactly what it means. And he's like, well, if you know that, then you know you shouldn't call the British retarded. And I was like, what the hell is your problem, you know? He's like, just don't call the British retarded. And, you know, the people that were with me, they were like, oh, just ignore him, don't worry about it. And I'm like, and you know what? I didn't want to let it go. And I didn't let it go. You know, so I decided I'm going to make nice. I don't want to be my first day there, you know, and just be in some shit with some dude over bullshit, you know. So I walked over to the guy. I did. I walked over to the other side of the bar, and I said, hey, man, look, I just wanted to apologize. I didn't mean to offend you in any way. He's like, I don't care about your apology. Just don't call the British retarded. And I'm just like, well, dude, I'm trying to apologize here. You know, I'm trying to be, you know, trying to make nice here. And he's like, I don't care. Just don't call the British retarded. And I'm thinking, and all I'm thinking to myself is maybe he's offended so much because the truth hurts, you know? And then, and I was like, okay, then forget it. He's like, all right, forget it. Just don't call the British retarded. And 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 I see that his wife is with him, and she's talking to him. And I come back to the group, the other British people, the nice British people that understood I was telling a joke. I get back to them, and this is hysterical. The women of the group, they were like, you know what? Don't even worry about him. You know what? He's just a grumpy old sourpuss. He's been like that all day long. And you know what? And his wife there, she's a fucking cunt. She's been egging him on all day, trying to get him into a fight. She's just a fucking cunt. Just ignore them, Joe. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll just ignore them. And that was it right there. I left it there, and that was it. I think the guy left like the very next day, because I know I didn't see him on the property for like the next 2 weeks that I was there. But all I could think of was just like, really, man? You're on vacation in Jamaica, everybody's chilling, everybody's laughing, drinking, having a good time, and you take offense over what some asshole at the other end of the bar who's not even talking to you says? Who does that? It wasn't even about him specifically. And I'm like, how much pride do you have to have in your own fucking people that, some offhand remark bothers you that much, to the point where he was starting to get really agitated, actually. I'll tell you that right now. He was really getting agitated. I could see him starting to clench up, and his fists clenching up, and his shoulders starting to like get twitchy and shit. And I was just like, I thought about pressing the matter. I really did. I thought about pressing the matter, and I thought about doing what I like to do, which is lay into people like that and just start ribbing them, start really needling them, because I'm sort of good at that. I'm a bit of an asshole, and I'm really, really good at that. And then I thought to myself, you know what? It's our first night here, and the last thing the Russian needs to do is deal with me getting into a fight with some big, fat, ugly British fuckwad, and possibly, spending like the weekend in a Jamaican jail, which, from what I hear from all the tour guides, is not something you want to do. You do not want to spend any time in a Jamaican jail. So I said, fuck it, I let it go. Had a couple more drinks, talked to the people, and then just forgot. I never saw the guy again. You know what he really looked like? If you ever watched the Harry Potter movies, and I know you have, Harry's Uncle Vernon. That's what the guy looked like. He literally looked like that guy, but in a Hawaiian shirt. Which I thought was stupid, considering we were in Jamaica. Fucking retards. Anyway. Memories. So what else is going on these days? Here's something you may have heard of, which I found slightly entertaining. Apparently, Facebook has been accused of news bias. Basically, what that means is there are some stories that they are not presenting to you. Apparently, 4 out of 10 U.S. adults now get their news off of social media sites. Specifically off of Facebook. Believe it or not, 4 out of 10 adults get their news off of Facebook. And apparently some employees from Facebook have come forward and have said that a lot of times stories that come from conservative news sources don't go through. Even though they may be important stories, they may be stories that are germane to certain people that are on Facebook. Because let's face facts, it's not just lefty liberal loons like me that are on Facebook. There's a lot of conservative people, on Facebook. When I say conservative, I don't mean like morally conservative necessarily, but that does go hand in hand with political conservatives. That does tend to go hand. Political conservatives do tend to be morally and ethically and religiously conservative as well. That does tend to happen. Not always, but it does tend to go hand in hand. But what's happening is that Facebook apparently, allegedly, has been filtering those conservative stories out of their news feeds, so that all you get is the lefty liberal loony stuff that that I enjoy so much. Which is great for people like me, but actually it's not even great for people like me, because I listen to conservative talk radio. I do. I listen to Mark Levin and Dennis Prager and Larry Elders. I listen to all these guys. And the reason I listen to them is because, like I've said before, they offer a different point of view other than my own or those of my friends or those of more liberal media. And the reason I do this is because, it's different. As I've said before, it's very easy to stand in a room with 30 people that all agree with what you have to say. It's easy. It's like Catholics going to see the Pope. Whatever he says, they're going to swallow it, all right? But I don't like it to be that easy. I want people to challenge me. I want different ideas. I want to hear different points of view, because that way I can decide for myself. Do I disagree with them, or do I agree with them? Or do I want to challenge what they're saying? Do I want to hear what they say and maybe extrapolate what I need out of it? So, again, excuse me. So, if that is something that Facebook has been doing, well, then Facebook, shame on you. Shame on you, Facebook. You shouldn't go around basically censoring the news, is what they're doing. So, that's why I said, people, don't get your news all from one source. I get my news, yes, I get it from Facebook sometimes. I also get it from Yahoo. I also get it from the daily newspaper that I get each and every single day, that I read each and every single day. And I also get it from the TV news that I watch sometimes. So don't just believe what one source tells you, and also don't just stick to one source, because like Facebook is proving right here, they're not always going to give you all the stories that you may think are important. They may decide to edit it out, and you might miss something that you would have liked to have known about. So, with that in mind, fuck you, Facebook. Though, please don't take my show off of Facebook. And speaking of racism, apparently California wanted to enact a John Wayne Day. They wanted it to be May 26th. And it went through the assembly for the votes. It only received 35 votes, but it needed 41 votes to pass. It was rejected based on the idea that John Wayne was a racist. To be clear, John Wayne was a racist. Let's not mince words here. The Duke was a racist. Now, that doesn't take away, all the fine films that he made, okay? All the TV specials that you may have seen him in, all the movies that you may have seen him, you don't need to throw out all your DVDs, all right? Just because he was a racist doesn't mean that he didn't do a lot of great work. Just like Bill Cosby. Just because he's a serial rapist doesn't mean that Bill Cosby himself isn't funny. Bill Cosby himself is one of the greatest comedy concert performances ever, and I was listening to it just the other day, and the fact that he probably raped all those women doesn't change the fact that his shit was funny. And John Wayne being a racist doesn't change the fact that he made a lot of great movies that, are part of Americana. I mean, as somebody here in this article writes it, let's see. It's Ethan Wayne, actually his son, writes, the actor's son sent a statement that his father had a great respect for all people, lie, no matter what color, race, or sexual preference, lie. But that like opposing John Wayne is like opposing apple pie, fireworks, baseball, and the free enterprise system on the 4th of July. Maybe not that extreme. But, that is it. Okay, you want to know how we know he's a racist? Apparently, this comes from an interview he did with Playboy in 1971. Let's see, where are the quotes here? Oh, yes. John Wayne called black people irresponsible and said Native Americans were selfish for not wanting to share their land with white colonists. In the Playboy interview, Wayne had said he supported white supremacy. It was in there. He said he supported white supremacy until, quote, until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people. End quote. Now, if that's not good enough, here's another quote from that very unapologetic John Wayne. When asked about the way indigenous populations were treated by colonists, he was unapologetic, saying, quote, our so-called stealing of this country from them was just a matter of survival. There were great numbers of people who needed new land, and the Indians were selfishly trying to keep it for themselves. Oh my God. I crack me up. I really do. Yeah. So yes, just to be clear, John Wayne was a racist. Don't fool yourselves. You can still love the Duke, okay? Go ahead. You can still enjoy his movies. You can still love him personally if you like. You can go home and stroke yourself while watching Hondo, for all I fucking care. But let's not lie to ourselves. John Wayne was a racist. Oh, my God. President Barack Obama is in the news, as presidents are wont to do. He's in the news. Why? Because he will be the first sitting president to visit Hiroshima. That's right, Japan, where we dropped one of them bombs. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We dropped the bombs. We are the only country in the entire world to have ever used nuclear weapons on another country. Only ones, ever. Everybody else, they use nuclear weapons on their own countries. I mean, they call it nuclear testing, but but we're the only ones that ever decided, you know what, let's take this bomb here and toss it on a city and see what happens. And what happens is lots and lots of people died. Cities were just absolutely devastated. The areas around them completely unusable for generations. And we did it. And now everybody's wondering, well, why is this a big deal? Well, the big deal is that it's seen as if the United States is apologizing for doing that. And I know a lot of you out there are thinking, well, maybe they should, from just a humanistic point of view. And, and I understand that point of view, but you got to look at it also from a political point of view, which is we were at war. And in war, horrible, horrible, horrible things happen. The likes of which I never want to experience. I've told my girlfriend a zillion times that when it comes to war, I never want to have to be that brave. I never do. That's why, if you're a soldier and you go to war, whether or not I agree with why you're doing it, if you actually go and you experience that and you come back, I guarantee you are not going to be the same person that left here. Okay? You go to war, I can't imagine how it wouldn't change you, unless, of course, you are psychotic when you left. But people are worried that, politicians here, conservatives here in the United States are very worried that his going to Hiroshima will be seen as, in a way, like a de facto apology. As if he's saying, hey, you know what, sorry, we fucked up. We shouldn't have done that. And the truth of the matter is, dropping those bombs on those cities ended the war. It was done. I mean, you get 2 nuclear bombs dropped on two of your cities, and you don't have any type of retaliation for that. You give up. You know you're done. It's over. And that's what the Japanese knew. And by most accounts, by war analysts, war experts, if those bombs had not been dropped on those 2 cities, the fighting would have continued. And it's estimated that even more people would have died, more Japanese people would have died in just regular combat with regular artillery, regular bombs, regular soldiers, tanks, planes. In the long run, more people would have died that were Japanese, and then more Americans would have died. In this case, you drop the bombs, no Americans died. Of course, from a war point of view, that's a win. We kill all of you guys, but none of our guys die. All of our guys live. That's a win-win as far as war is concerned. Now, I don't go around condoning weapons of mass destruction of this variety. If not for any other reason, it's really not good for the planet. I mean, you think not recycling is bad? Try dropping a bomb, an atom bomb, nuclear bomb anywhere near a large population, or maybe anywhere near you have soil that's good for growing anything. Drop a bomb near one of those places. I guarantee you, it's way more devastating in the long run than any war, any types of bullets you can have. I mean, I'm opposed to the whole idea of it. I'm not entirely opposed to war. I'm not going to say that because, let's face facts. And I learned this from watching Starship Troopers, actually, movie Starship Troopers, that just about every major conflict on this planet has been settled with violence. Okay? Yeah, just about, all right? And even most minor ones have been settled with violence. Violence is a part of human nature. It's something that we do. It's something we're really, really good at, And these bombs were just one big extension of that. Our capacity to destroy each other is amazing, So that's what they did. And no, I don't think that President Barack Obama should apologize. You can't go around apologizing for something, for an extreme condition like that. I've always said that, it's really easy to make judgment calls. It's really easy to be an armchair quarterback. When you're not in the game, when you're not in that situation, it's real easy to make, those moral and ethical judgments. When you're not really involved in them. Okay? But when you're there, when it is you with the gun, when it is you that's got the finger on the button, when it's your responsibility to do something, then you can talk to me about, whether or not something's right or wrong, ethical or moral. And while I don't think Barack Obama should apologize, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with him going. I mean, it's okay. I think it's okay to express a sadness over the loss of human life. I think that's okay. I think it's sad, But at no point do I think he should apologize for what happened. It was wartime. It was something that needed to happen, or at least they thought it did. We all make the decisions, the best decision we can at the time. Whether or not it's right or wrong later, that's for later to decide, but only by you, not by others. Certainly not by, a couple of generations later, by a bunch of hippies and liberals and leftists and people who have never, even been in a fist fight. Not for them to judge, Or go ahead and judge, It's fun to judge. I do it every day. And believe it or not, that's my time. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I think I did. Thank you for listening. It has been a pleasure as always. Hopefully I'll be back sooner than later. I'm Joe the Shirt. And before I say it, here's one more song by Bob Riffo. It's called Bastards, which I think is really quite apropos. I'm Joe the Shirt, and I'm off the cuff. Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Goodbye.